is the only person in America that doesn't run from the Blob. Because deep in the recesses of Wes Shank's basement in Broomall, Pennsylvania, the Blob lives.
I was very scared when I saw the film for the first time. It made a big impression on me.
But Wes and his family don't provide a loving home just for the Blob. His basement also houses many other valuable movie props from some pretty noteworthy old sci-fi movies, like Forbidden Planet and Planet of the Apes. But why all this movie madness?
A lot of the movies I saw as a teenager really have influenced me more than any other films through my life.
From ray guns to movie posters to 12,000 publicity photos, from kitsch to classics, Wes has an incredible collection of monster movie and sci-fi memorabilia anyone in Hollywood would be proud of. But no prouder than Wes of his very first movie prop, the one and the only Blob.
When I first saw the Blob one Saturday afternoon in 1965, it really changed my life forever. It was produced by Valley Forge Film, and I called, and the gentleman who answered the phone was none other than the director of the film, Irvin Yeaworth, Jr. He was kind enough to give me a tour of their sound stages, and in one dark corner of a building sat this black 5-gallon can. He says, "Wes, the Blob is in this." The Blob is made of silicone. It was originally clear, and in fact, the first time you see it in the film, it is clear. It doesn't begin to turn red until it begins devouring some victims.
Yes, Wes now owns the Blob, and the Blob is one of the only movie monsters left in the 1950s. He also owns the miniature sets purchased from the film studio. Looking at them reminds us of the days long before 3D animation and today's high-tech special effects.
And they would just reach in the can, and they grab out a handful or two, put it on a miniature set. They would tip the set, make it flow with gravity. The action is speeded up, and the Blob is moving very quickly. Just a little bit to make it look like a huge amount on the screen.
But though the Blob is his most valuable piece of movie history and the most recognizable, surprisingly, the film isn't his favorite. That right is reserved for Forbidden Planet, a 1960s sci-fi film with all the cheesy effects to go with it.
This is my Forbidden Planet area. I have here one of the original flying saucers. This was used in the scenes where the saucers seen flying through space. Back here I have one of the rifle-style ion blasters. And they only made about 5 or 6 of these for the film. And so these are very highly collectible. And this I paid $125 for.
Though he loves his Forbidden Planet movie props, none are cherished as much as the one that he actually earmarked for his collection while watching the 1968 movie Planet of the Apes.
This is a bust of the lawgiver. When I first saw the film in 1968, I sat there in the theater for some reason and thought, well, if I was ever to be offered a prop from that movie in the future, what would I like to have? And I decided this statue would, and sure enough, 3 years later, 20th Century Fox had an auction. They offered the statue. I was able to obtain it for $400.
So Wes is a curator of sorts. He has some incredibly rare and valuable props and posters from Hollywood's horror and sci-fi past. But his collection will never be complete without the object he desires most.
The time machine, the full-size model, would be one of my holy grails. Actually got to sit in the machine, and that was a real highlight for me.
Wes's friend owns the time machine from the 1960s movie, and he won't part with it. Just as Wes will never part with any of his movie props, especially not the Blob, because his family, well, they just wouldn't hear of it.
When I retire, maybe I'll sell it. Family's, no, don't you ever sell it. No, it's part of the family. It's going to stay.
So Wes continues to take care of his movie memorabilia collection and, of course, the Blob. And he hopes that his movie monster will always be happy here, because he wouldn't want to make it mad. Do you want to capture some movie magic for yourself? Movie posters are a great way to get started.